Imagine being 30,000 feet in the air when to flight. Attendants start throwing punches at each other, while passengers scream and the pilots lose control of the plane. This is not a scene from an action movie. This actually happened on a commercial flight, and what started as a petty argument turned into a disaster that nearly killed everyone on board. Before we dive in, what time are you listening? Where are you from? Drop a comment below and tell me Sarah Mitchell had been a flight attendant for 7 years. She loved her job. She loved meeting new people. She loved traveling to different cities. She loved the feeling of being above the clouds. But on this particular Tuesday morning, Sarah was not in a good mood. She had just broken up with her boyfriend the night before. She had barely slept 3 hours. Her head was pounding. Her eyes were heavy, but she had to work. She had no choice. The flight from Miami to Seattle was fully booked. 230 passengers were counting on her to do her job with a smile. Sarah walked into the airport terminal at 5 in the morning. The sun had not risen yet. The air was cold and still. She grabbed a coffee from the airport cafe and made her way to the gate. That is when she saw him, Daniel Ross, another flight attendant. He was standing near the boarding desk, laughing loudly with another crew member. Sarah felt her stomach tighten. She did not like Daniel. Nobody really liked Daniel. He was arrogant. He was rude. He thought he was better than everyone else because he had been flying for 10 years. He made jokes at other people's expense. He never helped when things got busy. And worst of all, he had reported Sarah to their supervisor 2 weeks ago for something she did not even do. He told their boss that Sarah had been rude to a passenger. It was a lie. But the supervisor believed him. Sarah had received a written warning. She was still angry about it. Daniel noticed Sarah walking toward the gate. He smirked. He always smirked when he saw her. Sarah ignored him. She checked in with the gate agent and then walked down the jet bridge toward the plane. The aircraft was a Boeing 747. It was massive. It could hold hundreds of people. Sarah loved working on big planes like this. But today, she just wanted the flight to be over. She stepped inside the cabin. The lights were dim. The seats were empty. The smell of cleaning solution filled the air. She walked to the galley at the front of the plane and started preparing the drink carts. A few minutes later, Daniel walked in. He did not say hello. He did not even look at her. He just started pulling out snack boxes and slamming them onto the counter. Sarah could feel the tension. She tried to ignore it. She told herself to stay calm. But then Daniel spoke. He said something under his breath. Sarah did not catch it at first, but then he repeated it louder. He made a comment about how Sarah looked tired. He said maybe she should not be working if she could not handle it. Sarah felt her face flush. She turned to him. She told him to mind his own business. Daniel laughed. He said Sarah was too sensitive. He said she could not take a joke. Sarah clenched her fists. She wanted to yell at him, but she did not. She turned back to the cart and kept working. The other flight attendants started arriving. The captain and co-pilot boarded the plane. Passengers began filing in. The cabin filled with noise. People were finding their seats. Overhead bins were slamming shut. Babies were crying. Sarah put on a professional smile. She greeted passengers. She helped them with their bags. She answered their questions. But inside, she was boiling. Daniel was working the same section as her. Every time they passed each other in the aisle, he would make a snide remark. He would bump into her on purpose. He would roll his eyes when she spoke. Sarah was trying so hard to keep it together, but Daniel was pushing her to the edge. The plane took off. The seatbelt sign turned off. Sarah and Daniel began the beverage service. They worked in silence, but the tension was unbearable. Passengers could feel it. Some of them exchanged uncomfortable glances. Sarah was pouring a cup of juice for a passenger in row 12 when Daniel walked past her and knocked the cup out of her hand. Juice spilled all over the tray table. The passenger gasped. Sarah froze. She looked at Daniel. He shrugged. He said it was an accident, but Sarah knew it was not. She grabbed napkins and cleaned up the mess. She apologized to the passenger. Her hands were shaking. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest. She stood up and walked toward the galley. Daniel followed her. He was still smirking. He said something about how clumsy Sarah was. That was it. That was the moment Sarah snapped. She turned around and shoved him, hard. Daniel stumbled backward. His eyes widened. He was not expecting that. For a second, he just stared at her. Then his face twisted with anger. He shoved her back. Harder. Sarah hit the galley wall. Pain shot through her shoulder. She could not believe what was happening. Neither could the passengers. People started standing up. They were shouting. They were pulling out their phones. They were recording everything. Sarah lunged at Daniel. She grabbed his shirt. She tried to push him again, but Daniel grabbed her wrists. They were both yelling now. Their voices echoed through the cabin. Other flight attendants rushed over. They tried to pull them apart, but Sarah and Daniel were locked in a struggle. Sarah broke free and swung her hand at Daniel. She hit him across the face. The sound was loud. Everyone gasped. Daniel's head snapped to the side. He touched his cheek. His eyes were wild. He raised his fist. Sarah braced herself. But before Daniel could do anything, 2 other flight attendants tackled him. They pulled him away. Sarah was breathing hard. Her hair was a mess. Her uniform was wrinkled. She looked around the cabin. Every single passenger was staring at her. Some looked horrified. Some looked angry. Some were still recording. Sarah felt a wave of shame wash over her. What had she done? But the chaos was not over. While the flight attendants were dealing with Sarah and Daniel, nobody was paying attention. To the cockpit. The captain had left his seat to use the restroom. The co-pilot was alone. He was young. He had only been flying for 2 years. He heard the commotion in the cabin. He turned around to see what was happening. He saw the fight. He saw passengers standing. He panicked. He grabbed the radio and called for help. But in his panic, he accidentally hit a switch. The autopilot disengaged. The plane started to tilt. Slowly at first, then faster. Passengers screamed. Bags started falling from the overhead bins. Drinks spilled everywhere. The co-pilot realized what he had done. He grabbed the controls, but he overcorrected. The plane jerked violently to the left. People were thrown from their seats. The flight attendants who were holding Daniel lost their grip. He fell to the floor. Sarah grabbed onto a seat to steady herself. The plane was shaking. Alarms were blaring in the cockpit. The co-pilot was trying to stabilize the aircraft, but He was terrified. His hands were trembling. Sweat was dripping down his face. The captain finally returned. He saw what was happening. He yelled at the co-pilot to move. The captain took control. He fought with the plane. He pulled up on the yoke. The plane was still tilting. The nose was dipping down. They were losing altitude. Fast. Passengers were crying. Some were praying. Parents were holding their children. The oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. That made everything worse. People thought they were going to crash. The captain kept fighting. He adjusted the throttle. He adjusted the flaps. Slowly, the plane began to level out. The shaking stopped. The alarms stopped. The captain stabilized the aircraft. Everyone was silent. The only sound was heavy breathing. The captain sat there for a moment. His heart was racing. He had just saved 230 lives. He turned to the co-pilot. He did not say anything. He did not need to. The co-pilot looked like he was going to be sick. In the cabin, Sarah was sitting on the floor. She was shaking. Tears were streaming down her face. Daniel was a few feet away. He was holding his head. Blood was dripping from a cut above his eyebrow. He must have hit something when he fell. The other flight attendants were checking on passengers. Some people were injured, bruises, cuts. One man had a broken arm. The flight attendants were doing their best to help, but everyone was in shock. Nobody could believe what had just happened. The captain made an announcement. He said there had been an incident. He said they were diverting to the nearest airport. He said emergency crews would be waiting. His voice was calm, but everyone could hear the tension in it. The plane landed 20 minutes later. As soon as the wheels touched the ground, police and paramedics rushed onto the aircraft. Sarah and Daniel were escorted off first. They were placed in separate police cars. Passengers were interviewed. Videos were collected. The airline launched an investigation. The story made national news. Videos of the fight went viral. Millions of people watched. Some people blamed Sarah. Some people blamed Daniel. Some blamed the airline for not screening their employees better. The co-pilot was also investigated. Some said he should have stayed focused. Others said he was just a kid who panicked. The airline fired both Sarah and Daniel. They were banned from ever working as flight attendants again. The co-pilot was suspended. He underwent additional training. He was eventually allowed to fly again, but he never forgot that day. Sarah spent months in therapy. She could not believe what she had done. She had put innocent people in danger because she could not control her anger. She had ruined her career. She had humiliated herself. Daniel disappeared from social media. Nobody knew where he went. Some say he moved to another country. The passengers who were on that flight never forgot it either. Many of them developed a fear of flying. Some sued the airline. The airline paid millions in settlements. New policies were put in place. Flight attendants now undergo mandatory conflict resolution training. Airlines monitor crew interactions more closely. Mental health resources are more accessible, all because of one fight, one moment of anger, one lapse in judgment. This story is a reminder that our actions have consequences, not just for us, but for everyone around us. Sarah and Daniel let their personal issues put 230 lives at risk. They forgot that their job was not about them. It was about keeping people safe. And because they forgot that, people got hurt. Planes almost crashed. Careers were destroyed. So the next time you feel yourself losing control, remember this story. Remember what happened 30,000 feet in the air. Remember that sometimes holding back is the bravest thing you can do. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos like this.